So Tamika told me to talk for 6 minutes or less. So let's see how this goes. She tells me that I am supposed to speak from the other side of the stirrups, right? I'm at the person at the receiving end. And I will tell you, I know, I make up things as I go along, basically. But I will tell you that I still find it incredibly hard, not only when I'm taking care of the pre-cancer conditions for patients, but also when I have to diagnose a cervical cancer. And I actually have a pretty good story to tell. Somebody who shall remain nameless in an unnamed period of time that's actually, let's just say, is fresh in my mind, and we'll leave it at that, because I have HIPAA compliance to keep up. Let's just say that there was a person recently, in a time that shall be vague in time, that she came with the story that her doctor was worried that she had cervical cancer, and she didn't have insurance. She ran out of insurance right after she got her LEAP procedure for a cancer condition. And you guys have been hearing about these margin story, and so this woman's margins were positive, and her gynecologist was convinced that this woman must have cancer. So this very brave woman waited for about 9 months until she got her insurance, and she diligently came to see me. And she's holding her own, she's got children, and she tells me, I didn't have insurance, I've been living with this for 9 months, this concern about whether I have cervical cancer. And let's just say that I examined this woman, and at first I thought, she's all right, she's okay. And then I felt the cervix, and I said to myself, I don't like how the cervix feels. And I will tell you that we can be wrong as doctors, right? We rely on looking, we rely on smell. Sometimes you can smell a cancer a mile away when you walk into somebody's room. And sometimes you don't like the way cervix feels. And let's just say that I was able to give that woman good news. And here's what I said to her at the time. I said, listen, I don't know if you have cancer. I think you shouldn't have cancer because the data is just not there for you to have cancer. But I will tell you that I'm just a little bit bothered about how your cervix feels. And sometimes you have a gut sense about something, and sometimes you're right, and sometimes you're wrong. And the information, validates you or not. So I took some biopsies, and let me tell you, those biopsies came back negative. And I will tell you that that was the highlight of my week. And this is actually a true story. My nurse is here, and she probably knows exactly who I'm talking about. But I will tell you that we live the ups and downs from the perspective of a physician. It's not easy. It's not easy to tell somebody they have cancer. I will tell you that whereas often I feel like I want to cry with the patients, and I think patients want to see their doctors cry, I don't think that there's my place to be crying with the patient necessarily all the time, because I think patients need the strength. And I will tell you that I am the biggest cheerleader for my patients. And I will tell you that I have patients of all the possible things you can imagine. I have patients that have died from their cancer. I have patients, tons of patients with pre-cancer. I have patients with early cervical cancers. I have patients who have recurred from their cancer. I have a patient who recently died from her cervical cancer. And I will tell you that they are my heroes. They're always telling me I am their hero, but no, they are my heroes. So I am extremely privileged to serve as a GYN oncologist, and it is through events like this and through talking to my patients that it gives me the motivation to go on. And I completely applaud, and I'm in awe of people like Tamika. And I will tell you that we are living in an era that I firmly believe what Tamika says. Those of you out there that have children between 9 and 12, you give them that vaccination. It ain't about the sex. Sex is a part of life. And you know what I tell my patients? I tell my patients, listen, when you get into a relationship, you should expect that HPV exposure is part of it. We're not all born to be priests and nuns. Sure, some people are born to be that, but we're not all born to be that. So we embrace HPV, and sometimes HPV gets a little bit out of hand, but how we take care of it is we go to our doctors. Those of us that are over 30, we get our PAP and our HPV. Those of us that have friends at work, we encourage our colleagues to go get their pelvic exam, and we tell them not to be afraid. We don't bite as GYN oncologists. And I will tell you that we're in an era that those of us that are in our late 40s and early 50s, we're in an era that maybe we won't see it, but about probably 30 years from now, we might see the eradication of cervical cancer, and we might see tremendously lower numbers. So I will tell you that this is a new dawn for cervical cancer, and I will tell you that those lives that were not lost for nothing. We have an HPV vaccine. We have gone from 4, the Gardasil, that has 4 HPV subtypes. We now have 9 HPV subtypes that's going to become widely available. We are going to see this in our lifetimes, or certainly our children will see this in their lifetime. And I will tell you that I'm very proud to be a GYN oncologist. I don't know what else you want me to talk about, but at the end of the day, this is a cancer that we can say what we cannot say about ovarian cancer, what we cannot say about endometrial cancer, which is rising. We can cure this cancer if it's picked up early enough, and we can eradicate it if we can get it at the point of pre-cancer or even get the vaccination. And I am extremely proud to be here to speak to you guys. Thank you.